Hello and welcome everybody to the Boom Business Network. My name is Frank Gargano and I want to personally welcome everybody inside the network where we take a faith-based message of hope to the business community. I want to welcome everybody inside today. We're going to be talking about and asking ourselves the question, what is worth fighting for? Come inside and let's hear what everyday business people are talking about.
And after my first time here, I was extremely impressed with how this group worked. It's different from any other networking groups that I've ever been to. People who come to these groups are genuinely here to help each other out. I've met so many wonderful people. I've developed a lot of great connections that I can use for my business as well as on a personal level. And I look forward to continuing with this group and developing closer relationships with the other members.
What is worth fighting for? What do you fight for? What is that thing? You wake up in the morning and say, you know what? It's my family. That's why I work. It's my job. It's my kids. It's my husband. It's my whatever the situation is. That's worth fighting for. I want everybody to think about that and talk about that. Because I think it's important. And by the way, why don't we start off with somebody who's going to be fighting literally in the Long Island Fight for Charity, which is the King's Bar Crusher. And Peter's doing. Peter, literally and figuratively, what's worth fighting for?
Well, first thing that jumped to my mind was family, but in a business setting, integrity. I'm all about building long-term relationships, and I know a lot of salespeople kind of get the stigma of being transactional and just looking for the sale. And I have walked away from business because I didn't feel it was right for the client or for myself. So I want to surround myself with people of integrity, and that's something I fight for on a daily basis.
It was actually the day of my daughter's confirmation. We were out to dinner, and the whole family, and we had a great day. Food, drink, celebrating, and it was so great that I came home and had a heart attack. So that was my 40th birthday. That was my birthday present. When you fight for your life, and when you fight for what you think is important, and everything changes, your perspective on everything changes. And I'm still working through this stuff. I'm still trying to work it out. But when you think all these things, these are the things that are important to me. And then you find out that most of those things really aren't that important. It just, it hits you like a tidal wave. Of course your family's important because your family's always important. That transcends everything. But how? What connection are you really making with your wife? What connection are you really making with your children? And because of that, my daughter and I have a tremendous bond. She's leaving for college in 6 days, and just recently, just the last few days, it's kind of hit me, because we're like good friends, and it's we developed this relationship because I want to be there for her. Like my dad died when I was in high school, and I got to be there. I got to be at her high school graduation, which I was. I got to be at her college graduation. I got to walk her down the aisle. So that's my fight. I just got to be there for her, and that's it.
We all have clients, we fight for our clients. Look what I've been doing for 30 years. And what we really fight for is our beliefs and our ideals, whatever that might be. You define what your beliefs and ideals are, understand the core, and you're going to do whatever it takes to follow what you've grown in, what the essence of you is. One story I will tell, one story. People know that I spent 25 years in San Diego. With the law school out there, I stayed, yes, and I came back to the wonderful sweltering weather of New York. So one day, we came back to New York for Passover. And it was the middle of Passover, and I went back to my town of Tierra Santa in San Diego. And we flew 3,000 miles. The kids are in the back, kids are younger at the time. Didn't have enough matzah for the rest of the week. Because you know about that, you got matzah during Passover. So we went to the store, and it's not like you see here on Long Island where there's aisles and aisles of Passover food. So I went back, and usually I know in the back corner of the shelf they had the little thing of Passover food. So I didn't find matzah. I went down to the clerk at the beginning. I says, can you tell me where you keep the matzah? So she gets on the speaker, Sally, where do we keep the Jew food? Wow. whoa. I was just so livid. You know, wrote a letter to the head of the company. It's closed now. They were out of business. I'm like, right, but again, what is the essence of you? What do you have? What's inside? And that's what you better fight for, because that makes you who you are.
100%. Right. I know of somebody else that when things were on the line for this particular person, he did exactly that. This is from the book of 1 Samuel. This is the story of David and Goliath, and this is what Rick was talking about when he said this is a story that everybody knows but nobody knows. And everybody's heard it and everybody's read it but nobody knows it. So when I was in this circumstance where I was up against a really difficult time, and by the way, not only in my profession, but I also told the story last week about how I've struggled with something physically, and then again talked about my need and desire to lose weight, to make sure that my health was in good shape so I could take care of my children, just as Tommy said before. I relied on this situation, and I said, I'm up against something that I can't handle myself. If I don't rely on my faith, then who am I? Where am I going to be? So a lot of times I show Proverbs in this group because they're short truths about how you apply this stuff to your life, because I don't care if you're 20, 40, or 80, you're going to get hip to this at some point. It's just a matter of when you make the decision to do it. So what I learned when I read this was, I said, you know what, this is a great story, but why was he really interested in going out and having this battle with a 9-foot-tall giant that had been a warrior from his youth when David was only a shepherd that was only trained for the business of guarding sheep? How did he even think, or why was he even motivated to go up against this situation? And in 1 Samuel, this is exactly what he says. He said, after Goliath came to the armies of the nation of Israel and taunted them and said, you're God's chosen people, but I stand here as one man and I'll defeat every single one of you, myself. And you pick one person and I will beat them. And not one person stood up, except for a 16-year-old shepherd boy. He said, not one person in God's nation, not one of God's people. And David stood up and said this, you come at me with a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. Because that's what Goliath was doing. He was taunting them by their God. He said, our pagan gods will defeat your God. That's exactly what he said. That's exactly how he came against it. And he said, in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled, and this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. And this very day give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the wild beasts, and the whole world will know that there's a God in the nation of Israel. And all those gathered here will know it's not by a sword and spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is his, and he's already given you into my hand. This, to me, with all of my heart, if I have something to give anybody in this room, anybody in general, this is you. This is every single one of you. When you've been up against the toughest challenges in your life, and I don't care what it is, your health, your marriage, your kids, your weight, your clients, whatever the situation is, this is what that circumstance is talking to you about. Who do you rely on? And where do you dig down deep to get the strength? Your belief system, Jeff. What is it that you believe in? What is worth fighting for? Against all odds, how do you stand in that place? How do you stand firm? Where is the line that you back up to and say no more? This is what I want to impart this morning. Honestly, this is all I have. I have no more wisdom than anybody else, but I know this. When things are down for me, because I couldn't do anything I do without this, family, business, networking, whatever the situation is, this is my rock. This is where I go to. The Lord is my shepherd. So I want to impart this to everybody. I appreciate you indulging me. I hope that this makes people think a little bit differently in their approach.
And I have to say, it's something that's it's just not all about the business. There's a lot more that goes on here. I mean, I've made some really good friends, made some great business contacts, and really, it's become a part of my family to be part of this network. And I just really can't say enough about it. It's, you know, the people here, the caring that's going on, the emotion in the room. It's something that it doesn't happen anywhere else.